Howdy, partner. All right. Okay, so I'm hungry. It's almost 10 p.m. And I will be playing. We'll be trying to complete the F.E.A.R DLC. But first, I'm gonna eat. And I'm gonna put some videos going on. So okay. For now, just kind of just chatting. Save. Okay. Alrighty then. Let's see here. Let us watch. Watch an absolute mad lad, dude.
And we are back. And
Okay. Watch an absolute mad lad. So where is it again? It's that. But not really that, because I'm gonna be making some foods.
and
So,
we are
I'll
back.
be right back.
We are finally back. I have moved into my new house. I have done lots and lots of DIY. My office is now built. I can finally start shooting videos normally again. I've been pounding into it for about the last month and a half. Am I close to finished with the DIY? Am I fuck? New year, new me, new mad lads. And we're going to start the year off with someone interesting. Someone who you might call a bit of a thrill seeker. You know, thrill seekers, the people that like to leap out of planes, leap off buildings, tightrope across huge chasms, go bungee jumping, you know, just for that. You know, these are the type of people that risk an extremely painful and gruesome death just for that little hit of adrenaline. But that little hit of adrenaline ends up becoming like a drug that a lot of these people become addicted to. Now, I personally would never do any of that shit, right? Fuck that. But a lot of us still enjoy watching these things. We enjoy seeing these spectacular feats of bravery, well, the ones that don't result in disaster anyway. Which is why I feel we should go back and look at the OG stuntman, the OG thrill seeker, the man who popularised these things. And this man did it not just because he wanted to do it, but because he wanted you to see it. This man turned his bones to dust for your entertainment. Evel Knievel. But before we get into the mad lads, it's your boy, Raid Shadow Legends, but this time it's now on PC and Mac for the people who for some reason own a Mac. The hottest dark fantasy mobile RPG out right now has done so well that it's now been fully launched on PC. And because it's on PC, there has been graphical upgrades made to the game, as well as animations and customizations. Being on PC allows the devs to add way more graphical shininess than they could on mobile. The best thing is, the game is still totally free, and it's also cross-platform, so you can play Raid anywhere, against mobile users, PC users, and Mac users. Yeah, Mac users! And still, my favourite thing about the game is farming salt in the PvP arena. There are over 400 champions for you to collect and customise, but on PC. See? Look! That's not CGI. It's not CGI. It's on PC. See? It's on the PC now. It's on the PC and Mac. Installation and registration only takes a few minutes. Also, my Discord has started a clan. The clan name is Actual Cesspool, and the clan tag is Your Mum. Hellbits is the leader. My Discord has formed a Raid Shadow Legends clan. What could possibly go wrong? So if you click my link down in the description, you will get 50,000 free silver and a free epic champion as part of the new player program. And then you can also join my Discord's clan. It won't be toxic, I promise. The following statement represents only my personal opinion and not the opinions of Raid Shadow Legends, Plarium Games LLC, or subsidiaries thereof. Macs are for losers.
You can't keep that in.
It's staying in. Now, before we get into Evel Knievel, just a little word of warning. As this is a video about Evel Knievel, you are obviously going to see several instances of footage of a man seriously injuring himself, and I don't mean in the jackass sense where they do their stunt, they get hurt, and then they all get up and laugh about it. No, you're about to see several instances of a man almost fucking dying. That's just a little trigger warning, you know, for all of you sensitive little souls out there. And this should obviously go without saying, but I'm going to do it anyway for liability reasons. Do not try any of this stuff at home. And personally, I'm not worried about that, because all of the footage you're about to see is definitely going to put you off ever even thinking about trying any of this. So, with all that legal bullshit out the way, Robert Craig...
Let's not watch that then. Also, let's shove this right here. Boom. Alright. Here I was thinking, you know, maybe it's a good idea. But it wasn't. Let's look for something else that's a little more suitable for this platform. In it. Let's watch this one, why not?
1999. A once distant year that still sounded like science fiction was rapidly coming to a close as the year 2000 approached, with massive millennium celebrations planned to greet the 2000s with excessive partying. But looking beyond the street festivals and boundless optimism, there was an undercurrent of pessimism and anxiety surrounding a computer glitch known as the Millennium Bug, the year 2000 problem, or simply Y2K, set to occur at the stroke of midnight, capable of instigating all manner of disruptions, ranging from the mundane to the apocalyptic. And yet, once the new year arrived, with few newsworthy problems occurring, many assumed the Y2K threat had been exaggerated or was even an outright hoax. What happened?
With the millennium only hours away, many people are working down to the last minute to fend off the Y2K bug.
It's been called the world's most important extermination job, eliminating the year 2000 computer bug.
The federal government now has 10 response centers across the country staffed round the clock.
The chance of major dislocation in our economy, the major dislocation in our standard lives is very low. I would certainly agree that it's below 10%.
When agencies are saying they're making good progress, they're 99% compliant, they're going to be there, they have every assurance that they'll be ready in time, let me translate that to one phrase. They're not ready yet.
These global issues are the direct result of an equally real human oversight many people now refer to as the Y2K, or year 2000 problem.
This is a problem. Things are going to be broken. The electricity may be broken. We will have to be patient while it's being fixed. And you know what? While it's being fixed, we might actually enjoy some family time.
This is LGR Tech Tales, where we take a look at noteworthy stories of technological inspiration, failure, and everything in between. This episode tells the tale of the infamous Y2K bug and the crescendo of panic that ensued. So what was the year 2000 problem to begin with? Well, Y2K, or Century Date Change as it was known for a while, can be most easily described as a calendar problem. For decades, computer programmers abbreviated the 4 digits of each calendar year down to the last 2 digits. So the year 1965 would be truncated to 65, for example. While humans had the common sense and context to understand a 2-digit year, the actual computers might take this at face value, meaning that the year 2000 could instead be misinterpreted by a computer as the year 1900, deeming 010100 to be an earlier date than 12/31/99. In hindsight, this seems like an easily avoidable problem, but when the shortcut was first implemented, it didn't pose any immediate threat. In fact, it made complete sense. Some of the first widely used computers in the United States, like the IBM 1401 introduced in 1959, were programmed using paper punch cards. These punch cards were a holdover from the electromechanical tabulating and accounting machines computers replaced, and operators of those had often punched in 6-digit date codes in the interest of saving time and space. So when it came to start using computer programs instead of accounting machines, the same 6-digit date code carried over as well. Then, once the venerable IBM System 360 came along in 1964, its operating system continued using 6-digit dates to maintain backwards compatibility when emulating IBM 1400 programs. These abbreviated dates also had the welcome effect of saving a couple bits of data per punch card, slightly decreasing the number of cards per program and lowering memory requirements. Consider that a single 2-kilobyte board of core memory could cost a couple $1,000s, around $1 per bit, and a 5-megabyte hard disk cost tens of thousands more, so it made sense to truncate programs any way possible. Sure, 6-digit years were a tad vague, but big deal. No way anyone would be running 1960s computer programs 40 years later. But that's exactly what happened, especially in the realms of government, finance, and infrastructure, where bureaucracy was high and change was slow. And it's not that computer programmers didn't think ahead. This Century Date Change, or CDC problem as it was called, was noticed early on. All the way back in 1958, computing pioneer Bob Beamer was one of the first to address the issue publicly while he was an employee at IBM. He was working on a genealogy program in conjunction with the Mormon Church, and the researchers needed to distinguish between the years 1900, 1800, 1700, and so on. 2-digit years made this impossible, so Mr. Beamer came up with a way of programming full 4-digit year references in COBOL. Logically, this could become a problem in the future once the year 2000 arrived, but despite Mr. Beamer repeatedly voicing his concern for years, the practice of two-digit year entry continued. It was considered such a non-issue that on November 1st, 1968, the Federal Information Processing Standards Publication 4, the standard for calendar date, was introduced. This outlined how all information exchange between U.S. government agencies would use the now standard 6-digit date, ensuring its usage far into the future. And again, this didn't go unnoticed. Another IBM employee, Peter de Jager, came to his own realization about the year 2000 problem in 1977 while testing a new banking system. He recognized the looming glitch, persistently voiced concern to his bosses, and like those before him, was very much ignored. It simply wasn't a big enough deal yet, and fixing so much code would be costly and time-consuming, and nobody wanted to do that. A bit more credence was finally given to the idea in 1984 with the release of Computers in Crisis by Jerome and Marilyn Murray. In this book, the Murrays laid out the history of the problem, what might happen if it's left unresolved, and how to address the flaws in 6-digit date programming, complete with hundreds of pages showing examples of corrected computer code. Still, even as recognition of the problem rose among programmers and computer users heading into the 1990s, it wasn't until the rise of fledgling internet services that the century date change problem truly gained traction. Arguably a contributing factor is the term Y2K itself, something far more catchy than century date change. The coining of the term is usually attributed to a programmer by the name of David Eddy, who first used Y2K to refer to the problem in an email sent on June 12, 1995, spreading virally from there. But beyond a catchy name, what finally made governments, companies, and the public sit up and take notice of Y2K in the mid-90s? The answer is simple. Panic. Never underestimate the power of public panic.
Power outages, water outages. My main worry is the energy grid. And if we can't get power, we can't get water. So it's something that is totally unpredictable.
I think there are individual banks that will probably go bankrupt. There are individual credit unions that will disappear over this issue. Some people will die.
The sooner you start your preparations, the better your opportunity to get the supplies you need at reasonable prices.
News reports, websites, TV specials, radio shows, newspaper opinion pieces, the Y2K coverage grew exponentially starting in 1996 as the new millennium drew ever closer, and IT professionals warned with increasing volume of the impending problems that would occur. By 1997, many experts were declaring a point of no return time bomb was approaching. And who knew what chaos might ensue if things weren't soon addressed? Especially when it came to computers that were now a couple of decades old, like those used in electrical grids, air traffic control, social security, emergency response systems, banking and financial institutions, hospitals and hospice centers, oil refineries and gas processing, and of course, all those scary-looking nuclear power plants and missile silos. The more the news coverage increased, the more people started wondering, what if everything turned off, all at once, on January 1st? Or worse, what if the glitch made systems go haywire, dropping planes from the sky and launching nukes at random? Soon, century date change bills were enacted at state and local levels, bringing in tech firms to assist in rewriting old code. Former COBOL programmers were brought out of retirement to help fix their own programs from the 60s and 70s. Individual contractors were hired by countless institutions and businesses starting at $1,500 a day in 1997. Governments, corporations, and small businesses around the globe were finally taking Y2K dead seriously in 1998, with an estimated $300 billion to $500 billion spent globally once it was all said and done. Of course, that was just a response on an official level, all those large institutions still using decades-old hardware and software. You'll note that personal computers haven't really been brought up as a major concern, and with good reason. A sizable margin of home computers were never going to be that affected by Y2K relative to many computers and mainframes. Even going back to the early Macintosh and IBM PC systems from the 1980s, those accepted the full 4-digit year 2000 no problem. Granted, there were countless PC clones, many of which used 2-digit years in the BIOS, as well as the bigger problem where your computer and OS was compatible, but your older software wasn't. A good number of applications still only recognized the last 2 digits, but by the late 90s there were very few of those programs still in use, and what remained likely wasn't controlling anything vital to society. Windows, Mac OS, Unix, even MS-DOS, none of these systems were ever at much risk, especially by the mid to late 90s when the public finally started caring. And larger businesses like Microsoft made sure to let users know there were updates for any of their outdated software, even offering a free Year 2000 resource CD-ROM to help users better understand the situation regarding PCs. Still, overarching Y2K anxieties led tons of folks to get the wrong idea anyway. The prevalence of Y2K-compliant labels all over the place probably didn't help, leading to a misguided idea that anything remotely computer-related could stop working. Computers themselves were of course labeled this way, but also software that was never at risk in the first place. Bicycle rummy? Oh sure, that's Y2K compatible, why not? If an item used a microchip or heck, used electricity in some way, slap a Y2K sticker on it. Cash registers, KVM switches, otoscopes, digital scales. And of course, remember to turn your computers off at midnight too, because reasons. Thanks, Best Buy. Despite the responsibility falling largely on the shoulders of governments and corporations rather than individuals, this didn't stop the onslaught of folks capitalizing on the hysteria by peddling personal preparedness. There were countless Y2K books, many of them centered around post-apocalyptic survivalism and off-the-grid living. Seminars were held that pitched the need for prepping at work and at home. Y2K News magazine got printed for a couple years, detailing Y2K-related facts and rumors on a bi-weekly basis. Outdoor supply stores bundled food, stoves, and lanterns together and sold them as Y2K survival kits. Cleverly named online stores popped up like Y2K Mart, billing themselves as one-stop disaster shops. Folks extra worried about personal safety went into stores asking retailers for, quote, Y2K guns, leading to a spike in U.S. weapons sales. Amish Mennonite business owners saw a notable rise in sales due to their offerings of analog technology. People began stocking up underground bunkers and fallout shelters in numbers not seen since the height of the Cold War. Cookbooks were released focusing on food preparation in the absence of electricity and clean water. Collectibles were sold, cutifying the Millennium Bug as a soft, plushy insect. Y2K survival shows were hosted on county fairgrounds, providing a kind of end times family event. Computer hardware makers sold add-on cards promising to make your BIOS Y2K compatible. Software developers released applications for analyzing and updating PCs for potential glitches. Certain religious leaders and churches were hailing the new millennium as the beginning of the end times, as written in the Book of Revelation. Mock movie posters were sold that combined mid-century horror movie tropes and Y2K apocalypse fears. Actual Y2K movies got made, like Y2K the Movie, a 1999 made-for-TV disaster flick. Somehow Leonard Nimoy got roped into hosting an hour-long Y2K scare-a-thon released to VHS. Even musicians couldn't resist making Y2K-themed songs like The Millennium Bug by Terry Breen. And naturally, comedians, comic strips, and TV shows all joined in poking fun at the whole shebang.
Happy New! What?
Oh no, it's happening.
So with all the years of Millennium Bug silliness and scare tactics, it's no surprise that many folks were still expecting the worst. But once the day finally arrived in 1999 turned to 2000, Y2K was more or less a no-show. Power kept flowing, planes kept flying, cars kept driving, banks kept banking, even computers that weren't turned off before midnight did just fine. There were a number of issues, though, even if largely limited to brief, localized interruptions. A building in South Korea lost its heating for a few hours. Several people in the UK were given incorrect medical test results due to age miscalculation. 3 dialysis machines in Egypt needed to be reset at midnight. And some credit and debit card terminals delayed transactions by a few days. Not to mention some more lighthearted blunders, like a guy who returned a rental videotape to the store only to be met with a $91,250 late fee for being 100 years late. But the vast majority of Y2K bugs were incredibly minor, mostly just digital clocks and calendars showing 1900 instead of 2000 before being promptly fixed. According to the U.S. Senate Y2K Aftermath report, despite all those incidents, there were, quote, no major problems experienced in the U.S. or worldwide during the Millennium Date change. So hooray! Job well done, crisis averted. Everyone thanked all those skilled programmers, right? Not quite. The skeptics and the defenders alike began sounding off immediately, as exemplified by the January 1st comment section from the BBC's Talking Point page.
I have always believed in the saying, there is nothing so insignificant that it cannot be blown out of all proportion. With the demise of the Y2K bug, the media will now have to find something else to expand to the ridiculous.
Maybe the reason not much happened is because a lot of people spent a lot of time, most of it unpaid, fixing the bug before it could bite. The failure of a problem to materialize does not mean it never existed, only that your IT department fixed it before it could do damage.
It's the same as going to a doctor due to a stomachache and complaining that it's gone away after treatment. What was the media expecting? A fix and a meltdown? You can't have both. The media will do anything to make people's blood boil.
The Millennium Bug. Just another example of the computer industry extracting money from an uninformed public. I wonder what the next money-making scam will be.
Had the money not been spent, there would have been chaos and a lot more money spent to fix them. The real lesson to be learned from this is to correctly design the software in the first place and don't assume it won't be around after a few years.
I'm quite relieved that everything so far is Y-OK, mainly because as of about December 27th, I had eaten all of my Y2K stash. As of January 1st, 2000, everything seems normal, but I don't know if the water is still safe to drink, and I think my car is too old to be affected by computer chips.
The Y2K scare was definitely a scare campaign for reasons best known to the computer programmers and software manufacturers. This money could well have been spent to greater benefit to mankind the world over.
Get real, guys. Had there been a total meltdown, global thermonuclear war, and all the other things that many seem to be actually looking forward to, just who would you have blamed? Exactly the same poor souls who you are now blaming for the absence of these things.
This discourse only grew over the coming years, with retrospectives analyzing all the warnings and preparation, wondering if it was all overblown. Make no mistake though, Y2K was a real problem that needed to be fixed, and people put in countless hours to fix it. But the problem with thoroughly fixing something is that to an outsider, it looks like nothing was fixed at all. So on the one hand, the Millennium Bug was an unquestionably big problem with a massive quantity of unseen work happening that resulted in a disaster dodged. On the other hand, it's clear that an unwarranted amount of fear, uncertainty, and doubt was being sown and reaped by those looking to make a quick buck. To quote tech journalist Robert Cringely, I believe a terrific amount of Y2K fraud took place. There was a lot of money that was spent, and it wasn't visible. The question is whether the right work was done, and my guess is probably about half that money was just wasted. Indeed, no one knows precisely how much of the prep work was truly necessary and how much was at best an honest overreaction or at worst a cynical cash grab. And unfortunately, those bad actors often received the spotlight instead of the workers grinding away fixing the actual problems. And thus Y2K ended up being more of a punchline, a cliche end-of-the-world trope that the public was all too happy to move on from. But it wasn't an all-out hoax either. The calendar date change problem was real, and a lot of the fixes were necessary. Additionally, computer hardware and national infrastructure updates made to prevent Y2K chaos ended up having benefits beyond the year 2000 problem. As just one example, New York City's infrastructure overhaul for Y2K has been credited as helping deal with the 9/11 terrorist attacks. The enhancements and fail-safes installed to prepare for Y2K ended up being invaluable in helping first responders in 2001 when power, communication, and rail lines were destroyed. On the flip side, some of the Y2K fixes caused issues that only arose decades later in what became known as the Y2020 bug. Turns out up to 80% of Millennium Bug fixes relied on a method called the pivot year or windowing, making computers see years between 00 and 20 as the 2000s. Once the year 2020 came about, anything relying on this temporary fix immediately broke, including parking meters, point-of-sale terminals, and even the pro wrestling video game WWE 2K20. So sure, Y2K is easy to look back on and joke about, with all the laughable products and absurd apocalyptic predictions, but it shouldn't be dismissed entirely as a scam either, even with all the scamming and poor decision-making that occurred. The public perception perpetrated by the media that this was a hoax has done a great disservice to the industry, said Peter de Jager in 2010. Organizations did not spend $300 billion worldwide because someone said there was a problem. Nobody is that gullible. They spent $300 billion because they tested their systems with OO dates, and the systems stopped working. Let's hope the media, the industry, and the public alike have learned their lessons then, because calendar-based computer problems continue to crop up, and there's no telling what kind of technological silliness lies over the horizon.
Alrighty. Okay, so basically, we're doomed. And yeah, this is the year we're doomed. Everything is stopping and the apocalypse will begin. Rip. It's a rip. Alright. Change our title. Once again, no fear here. Fear first thing here, deal. All right. Let's boot up the game. Oh. And let's do this. All right. Is it on good volume, or do I have to fucking change that every time? I do. No idea yet. No idea of what, Kim? What are you talking about? What ya talking about? Oh, the volume. Yeah, I just have to change it every time I boot up the game. It's kind of annoying, but yeah. Ow. Eat Nate, idiot. Boom. God, dude. Can you just, like, die? You stupid robot. Huh? down. Oh, convenient. All my ammo. Gone. Oh, the boot time. All my ammo, quite literally. Can I pick these up? I can. That's cool. That's pretty neat, dude. Just do this before we get F by something else. Where to now? Here? Okay. Going on? What the hell is going on up there, dude? Replica forces have been reactivated via Yeah, I read that already. A different level, but I already did it. Nice. What?
All mission essential personnel are to report to if you
Did he just say senator? Figures with Morse involved. Wonder how high up this goes.
Nice. Nays are necessary, dude. Okay. Oh. That's pretty useful. thought a dude would, you know, the freaking, that other idiot that locks himself in the ground.
Lost 6 men to the creatures in the shadows. Avoid the dark, if you can.
Avoid the dark. Easier said than done, bro. Uh-oh. Is this midnight meat train?
The subject has crossed the perimeter. Get down. Can you see him?
What the? Oh, it's you idiot.
What's your status?
Wait, what? Oh, come on, dude, no. My... Save.
We're seeing replica activity in the train yard. Proceed with caution.
Hiya!
Target in sight.
You dig that? It's hot. Oh shit, calm down, bro.
Got 3 men down.
The hell is this?
Target spotted. Get the cover.
Maybe you shouldn't have spotted the target, dude. Yeah, just saying. You know? Maybe spotting the target was a bad idea. That's where I came from. So we got to go up. Get ready, dude. Hell yeah.
I don't care who you are. I'm pulling the plug on this one. Pack up and leave the city.
Yeah, it's his profile. The what? Okay.
Sensors detect an intruder has entered the perimeter. You kill him.
Okay, dude.
Sensors detect an intruder as a Let's end. Kill him.
Right, idiot. Easy. Dude, what? Oh. Okay, at least we got some medikit galore here. 1, 2, 3. Four. So wheat. Well, where the wife fucking go now, dude? Oh. I'm not talking much because, like, I'm actually getting sleepy as fuck. Like, my brain is, like, kind of wobbly all over the place right now. It's like, on one hand, I do want to go to bed, but on the other hand, I also want to complete this. So. Yeah, but I'm silent anyways. Oh, look who it is.
Give him a radio. So, tell me, asshole, was it worth it?
Got to get me out of here.
Then why the fuck should we do that?
You've got to let me out. They're going to kill me.
That's your problem.
Right now, the Nightcrawlers are trying to get their hands on her DNA.
Whose DNA?
Her name was Alma. She was the primary donor for both Origin and Perseus. The Nightcrawlers were supposed to hand it over to me.
You better not be making this shit up.
There's a shortcut. It's a supply tunnel. I know where it is. We can get there before they find her.
All right, Sergeant, let him out.
But I did. Better behave or I fucking pump one can in your ass.
We have to hurry if we're gonna stop them.
If Mr. Morrison tries to escape, shoot him.
Heck yeah, no, I will.
Tunnel's this way. It's right around here, in one of these buildings.
Take me to it, asshole. What are you waiting for?
It's just inside here. It's just through here.
Oh.
You made it. I was beginning to wonder.
Oh man, did you see the guy disappearing with the eyes? Fucking Evan Mars has identified the mercenary force as Nightcrawlers. He has confirmed their next target is genetic material belonging to a subject named Alma. Marston is leading F.E.A.R Sergeant to a decommissioned ATC compound that houses this genetic material. Yeah, so this is like a prologue to what happens in F.E.A.R and Extraction Point.
Isn't Paxton Fettle dead?
Well, I'd ask him how he was, but he just vanished
Or is
into
it?
thin fucking air.
Sergeant, we're gonna lose contact here pretty quickly. I'm only a few miles behind you. I'll see you on the island.
I mean, they're talking about like Paxton is dead and stuff or whatever. So I don't know, man. Can you move? Oh, fuck off, dude.
Damn, they're closed. Goddamn controls have gotta be around here somewhere. Make yourself useful, why don't you? Ah, hell, look at this. Looks like that's a go. Let's get moving.
She had been dead for 3 years when she first came for me. She destroyed them with the raw edge of her pain. Give it back.
Tell me you saw that.
Well, you're dead. Yeah, pretty much. I think he's coming out of that one.
Advance. Affirmative.
Oh, man. Is it this way or... Yeah, you know what? Fuck, I'm just gonna go this way. Can't be bothered by all the options. All right. I was trying to, but god damn it. I'm literally like fucking falling asleep here. So I'm just gonna end it and call it. And yeah. You get some sleep. Like like when I'm pressing the W key and I'm quite literally closing my eyes, and then in like half a second I kind of wake up and see that I'm like where I don't want to be. It's like, oh my goodness. What there's some game I played. Oh yeah. Euro Truck Simulator. I did that so many times. Like I'd be holding the controller and then falling asleep, like slowly closing my eyes, and then I hear like I'm like okay, yeah, I just hit something. And so many other games, fucking MMOs do that to me like all the time. When there's like no action going on or something, I just literally fucking falling asleep. Anyways, thanks for watching, Kim. Thanks for being around. And yeah, I'll be doing this probably tomorrow or some shit. Yeah, try to finish F.E.A.R, the DLC, so that I can start F.E.A.R 2. Excited. All right. See you tomorrow.